I met Emily in college. She was a bright, ambitious woman with a contagious laugh and a heart that could melt steel. We were young, reckless, in love, the kind of love that made you believe nothing else in the world mattered. By the time we were 25, we were married. I thought I had won the lottery. But I didn't realize then. I was marrying into a war one couldn't see coming. The first time I met her mother, Diane, she gave me a cold handshake and a stare that lasted just a beat too long. She wore her judgments like a perfume, thick, suffocating, and impossible to ignore. "You work in tech, right?" she asked during our first dinner. "I suppose that's fine." I always pictured Emily with someone more established. It was a jab wrapped in a smile. I laughed it off, assuming she just needed time to warm up to me. Spoiler. She never did. Still, life moved forward. I got promoted at my job, we bought a cozy home in Oregon, and Emily started her own boutique interior design business. From the outside, we looked like the ideal couple. But inside our home, little cracks started forming, cracks Diane was more than happy to pry open. Diane would visit often, too often. At first, it was under the guise of helping Emily with her business or just checking in. But it became clear that she didn't come to visit us, she came to watch me. She'd make sly comments about my working hours, the way I folded laundry, or the time I spent in my home office. "You know, when your father worked long hours, it was always because he had someone else," she said once over morning coffee. Emily laughed nervously. I didn't. Slowly, Emily started changing. She'd get tense when I came home late, even by 15 minutes. She'd ask who I was texting, even if it was just my project manager. At first, I thought it was stress, or maybe just the natural ebb and flow of marriage. But something felt off. One night, around 1 a.m., I got up to grab a glass of water and heard Emily whispering on the phone in the living room. She sounded frustrated. "No, Mom, I don't think he's hiding anything. He's not like Dad." She paused. "Okay, I'll check. But I feel guilty even looking through his stuff." I froze behind the wall. So this wasn't just suspicion. It was Diane whispering poison into my wife's ears. I didn't confront Emily. Not yet. Instead, I decided to find out how far Diane was willing to go. And that's when I started recording everything. I installed discrete voice-activated recorders in our home, one in the living room, one near the kitchen, and one in our upstairs hallway. I synced them with my phone and let them run. For days, nothing. Then on a Wednesday afternoon, while I was supposedly at work but actually parked 2 blocks away, Diane showed up. I watched from my car as she let herself into our home with the spare key she wasn't supposed to have anymore. The audio came through later that evening. Her voice was sharp, clipped, and intentional. "I'm telling you, Emily, men like him don't just stay loyal. You need to start protecting your finances. Separate your accounts." Quietly. Emily's voice was shaky. "But we're happy. I mean, I think we are." "And what happens when you're not?" Diane snapped. "You don't want to end up like me, left with nothing when he walks out." That was the moment I knew this wasn't about concern, this was projection manipulation. Control. And Emily, the woman I loved, was falling for it. After Emily moved in with her mother, the house fell into an eerie silence. But the storm inside me never calmed. She acted like she hadn't filed for divorce, like she just needed some space. Occasionally, she would text me things like, "Why are you being so distant?" As if I were the one who had walked away. But I knew now someone else was pulling the strings. Diane, my mother-in-law. Still, I kept my responses calm. I chose my words carefully because now I held the playbook. I skipped the office the next morning and scheduled a meeting with an attorney. When I played the recordings for him, he raised his eyebrows and leaned forward. "That's a powerful piece of evidence. But if you want this to hold up in court, everything has to be legal. If she wasn't in your house and didn't consent to being recorded, it could backfire." He was right. But Diane wasn't playing by the rules. So I wouldn't either. This time, I planned to go to her house not for a fight, but for more proof. I had a reason to visit Diane's home. Emily had asked me to pick up a few of her personal items. I walked in with my phone secretly recording. Diane greeted me with a smile. "Oh sure, the box is upstairs," she said. As I went up, she stayed downstairs and made a phone call loud enough for the recording to catch. I had the divorce papers drafted. Her father still doesn't know, but once he finds out, he'll see I did the right thing. You know, he never liked that man either. I had no idea how far this woman was willing to go. But now I had 2 solid recordings. This was only the beginning. My attorney and I reviewed both recordings again. This time, he suggested confronting Diane directly. We invited her to a quiet mediation session. She walked in and froze when she saw me, Emily, and my lawyer. "Ms. Diane, do you recognize these conversations?" My attorney asked, then played the recordings. Diane went silent. After a few seconds, she muttered, "Everything got out of hand." I just wanted to protect my daughter but it was too late. Emily's face said it all, shock, anger, and shame. All at once. A week later, Emily called me. For the first time in months, her voice sounded sincere. What my mom did was unforgivable. But I didn't listen to you either. I'm sorry. But it was too late. The court voided the divorce, but I had no intention of continuing the marriage. Once trust is shattered, there's no going back. So what happened after? Diane eventually moved to another state. Emily learned to stand on her own 2 feet. And me? For the first time in my life, I turned the page, no one else holding the pen. Because sometimes, justice isn't served in a courtroom. It starts with one recorded sentence.